It's time for episode 23 of the Mystical Times blog podcast with me, Michelle Eve. This episode is called The Somerset Ghost, and I take a look at how this photograph came about. It includes two well-known supernatural investigators and authors of the time, Elliot O'Donnell and Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. The backstory is about one particular young man who, it seems, wanted interactions with Elliot O'Donnell and went ahead and faked the Somerset Ghost photo in order to do that. But it wasn't until many years later, when Sir Arthur Conan Doyle was to include the photo as a genuine ghost photo in one of his talks, that the man took responsibility for the faked photo. The Somerset Ghost. This photo was taken in 1908 in a 14th century property called Brockley Court in Somerset, which had a reputation of being haunted. The photo also involved one of the more well-known supernatural investigators and authors of that era, Elliot O'Donnell, and later on the famous author, spiritualist and supernatural investigator, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. You may have seen the Somerset Ghost photo before, pre-internet, as it appeared in the book Ghosts by Janet Board, which was published in 1974. The photo was taken by 20-year-old Arthur Hugh Spencer Palmer, and previous to taking this astonishing photograph, he had written to Elliot O'Donnell, asking if O'Donnell would spend the night at Brockley Court to conduct an overnight vigil with him. O'Donnell politely declined due to being too busy, but for Palmer to contact him if anything did happen at the property. It was a few weeks later that O'Donnell received the photograph in the post. With the photo was a letter which outlined what had happened during the overnight vigil. Palmer explained that he had gone to the property with an army officer friend, and the house remained quiet until around 2:45 a.m, when both men attending the vigil said that they saw a light in the darkness of the room, and it was then that a photograph with flash was taken, and the result is the photo you can see. O'Donnell's opinion on the photo was asked for in the letter, as well as another invitation to attend an overnight vigil at the property. O'Donnell had serious doubts to the photograph being one of a ghostly image of some sort of monk being captured on film, as O'Donnell felt, through his own experiences, that ghosts couldn't be photographed. The background of Elliot O'Donnell is rather fascinating, as he became quite obsessed with the world of paranormal due to his experience of an elemental he witnessed as a 5-year-old child. Even more chilling was what happened when he was just a few days old. His mother and the servants of the house heard stomach-churning screaming coming from just outside the family's home. O'Donnell's bewildered mother asked one of her servants to what this awful screaming could be, to which the servant replied, "It was the sound of a banshee, which foretells the death of a family member." Just a few days after this happened, Mrs. O'Donnell heard the sad news that her husband had been murdered during a robbery in Ethiopia, where he had been working. There is so much history to Elliot O'Donnell, but in short, he published many books, mainly about the paranormal and occult lore, gave many lectures on these subjects, wrote articles and stories for different publications, and also made broadcasts for radio and television, both for the UK and the US. When the next overnight vigil happened at Brockley Court, there were 4 people in attendance: O'Donnell, Palmer, the army officer who was with Palmer on the first vigil, and a footman who had previously lived and worked at the property. Along with these 4 people, a dog also attended. The property was searched from top to bottom before the vigil began. The group of 4 men and a dog sat in the room where the photo was taken in total darkness. At around 2:45 a.m, a faint light was seen. The light seemed to be coming from the wall of the room. As it further emerged, O'Donnell asked if there was a spirit in the room, and was then asking it to make contact by tapping or saying something, but got no response. The light slowly dimmed, and there was no further incidents during the vigil. It was several months later that O'Donnell became aware of a report in a psychic news publication that indicated at the time the Somerset Ghost photo had been taken, himself, Palmer, and the footman had witnessed the ghost itself. The woman writer of this article stated that those 3 were present and they actually saw this ghost, and it had been very tall, emitted a glow from its person, and that all 3 had agreed it had been a genuine ghost. Palmer sent a letter to the publication to say it had been written without his consent, but O'Donnell felt Palmer had told the woman about this account, but had failed to tell her that O'Donnell hadn't been present at the former vigil when the photograph was taken. O'Donnell undertook 3 more investigations at Brockley Court not long afterwards. The first revisit was conducted with 3 local young men and a dog. One of the men was quite frightened and wanted the vigil to end, but as he was saying this he shrieked, "There it is!" as he saw some weird-looking human figure in the corner of the room. No one else saw this, and for the second time the young man said he saw the figure again. O'Donnell said he saw what appeared to me was some sort of red glow, but felt this was due to eye strain. Nothing else was reported that night. On his second revisit, it was just O'Donnell and a friend, Everard Fielding, but nothing was reported happening. On the third revisit, it was O'Donnell, Fielding, and a friend. Again, nothing happened. O'Donnell was to return for 3 more vigils at the house in 1913. During the second vigil, someone in the group spoke discreetly to O'Donnell about the Somerset Ghost photo and how it had possibly come about. This would lead to O'Donnell to suspect even more than he had that the photo had been faked. Despite this, he would go on to attend 2 more vigils that year, and on the last one, 2 of the 4 attending sat in the room where Palmer was said to have taken the photo, and they saw moving lights in the darkened room, which they took a photo of. The photo showed some anomalous marks, but O'Donnell felt this could be due to something that happened during the processing of the film, or just a natural phenomena. Later on, Arthur Hugh Spencer Palmer, who showed the supposed ghost photo to O'Donnell, became a dentist. Then in 1911, he had emigrated to Kenya to take up a dental position there. He had been there many years when Sir Arthur Conan Doyle visited the area to give a lecture on the paranormal. Conan Doyle had a copy of the Somerset Ghost photo, and it was included in his talk. It was said that he believed the Somerset Ghost photo was authentic. Palmer attended one of Conan Doyle's talks in Nairobi, and when Palmer saw the photo and heard what was being said about it, he stood up and declared, "I am that ghost." Understandably, Conan Doyle was said to be annoyed in the way this was declared. Some reports are of Conan Doyle accepting that the photo was fake and never showed it again. But then there were reports of how irritated Conan Doyle had been at the way this person had called out the fake photo. It's also been said that he offered £1,000 if Palmer gave him the negative of this photo. Palmer had not kept the negative, but did have the original print. It would appear that Palmer, and maybe his friends too, had conspired to produce a ghost photo so that Elliot O'Donnell would attend the property and conduct a vigil for paranormal activity. But whilst this happened on several occasions and no unexplained activity happened, Palmer lost interest. This could also explain why he behaved as he did at Conan Doyle's lecture. That's all for this episode, and I do hope you enjoyed hearing about the story behind the Somerset Ghost photo. For the next episode, episode 24, which will be out for Halloween, I'll be sharing a lesser-known poltergeist case that has many twists and turns, making it a very bizarre case indeed. Till next time.